What's up, everybody? Welcome back to TK Wrestling, and we are back with another video, and this time we're here with our Saturday night main event predictions. The May 24th edition. I have to, because you can't really number the Saturday night main events, so I just buy the date. So May 24th, Saturday night's main event. We're here talking about the 4-match card, which we were talking a little bit, Matt. It felt like not a lot, but the last Saturday night's main event was also only 4 matches, and I completely forgot that. So
okay, all right.
But yeah, I'm pretty excited about the match card. I was just telling you before we went live that it feels like every match on this card is main event caliber. Like it feels like no matter what they put as the main event, it is well deserved. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the order that we think that the matches should be in. We have a little bit of an order to talk about them, but other than that, Matt, how has your week been? Happy to be done with school finally, because for those of you that don't know, Matt is a very established professor in his field. And he's got the summer to finally take a second and breathe, because, you know, when you've been in the teaching game that long, you have your routines and you have your processes that you follow, but it doesn't get any easier every year. So I'm sure you're happy for your break.
Yeah, no, I get a little bit of a break. You know, there is summer school that's going to start, but at least that's largely online and whatnot. So it's not as much. So it's really, you know, it's the morning routines. I found that's one thing. Like I used to be a night owl when I was younger. I used to be up to like 2, 3 a.m. Now it's that I get up at 5 a.m. or, you know, or you know, or something. And it's flipped. It's so weird to be a morning person now. So I need my mornings to myself. So if I don't have to go to an office in the morning, in a sense, then I can do things, you know, like it'd be different. Like night times I can do whatever, you know, like I can still do my things, but to be super productive, I've got to be super productive in the morning. So it'd be super productive for what I want to do, like these sort of things, like this right now. It's got to be, you know, first thing in the morning. So yeah, I'm excited to have that break, get some productivity down. Like I said, love doing this. You know, I've been going back and watching a whole bunch of old wrestling as well. I watched an old ECW Rey Mysterio match the other day. So just to let you know,
Do you remember who it was against?
No, it was a best of 3 fall match though. I'd have to go back.
2 out of 3 falls.
Yeah, 2 out of 3 falls. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look.
I'm looking it up right now, brother.
Yeah,
because I'm curious now. Yeah, I thought so. Juventud Guerrera.
Yeah, that sounds right. Guerrera. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Even more lineage in the lucha background. Juventud is a legend in the lucha scene. So that's a pretty great one. You know what you should go watch next if you want to go watch another Rey Mysterio match from back in the day. Halloween Havoc 1997. Everybody that's watching this that knows this match, they're like, yeah, dude, we know. But if you haven't seen it, it's legit. Like legit, dude. It's almost, oh my God, I was about to say 20. It's almost 30 years old. Right. And it withstands the test of time. It's Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero. And dude, words don't do it justice how good of a match it is. And Rey Mysterio's attire that night, like his get up that night is legendary. Like we all remember it. So if you want to see a technical masterpiece between 2 guys that came up in the business together, that know each other like the back of their hands, that put on an excellent match, it's a pretty good one. It's going to be on our Patreon watch series eventually when we get that set up. But today we are talking about Saturday night's main event. And like I said, I'm excited for the card. I'm ready for the card. Now we're going to jump into our first match, but Matt, you did say beforehand that you kind of wanted to tell us the order that you thought it was going to be in.
I mean, like I said, we don't know what the order is. Let's be honest here. Really, if this was a PLE, any of these matches could headline, right? But because this is on NBC or whatever, you know, do you still have Cena headlining it? You know, do you trust that main event Jey Uso can? You trust that he's, you know, big enough out? Because I have to imagine that Saturday Night Main Event gets eyes that I'm trying to justify a lot of things here. For instance, like I said, we've said no women's match, right? So why no women's match? Why John Cena? You know, why a steel cage match? You know, these are the things probably right now that if you were going to get the average, you know, Joe Schmo who doesn't maybe watch wrestling but's looking for something to watch on a Saturday night, flipping channels, they're going to tune into that. And what's probably the average Joe Schmo unfortunately going to tune out at? When you hit a women's match. I'm not, and that's horrible. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's average, you know, wrestling person who doesn't watch wrestling flipping channels. They'd be like, oh, what's this on? And they keep going, you know? And if John Cena is your main event, you more than likely might have them to watch the whole thing. So because of that, otherwise I'd have Jay, like if this was a PLE or, you know, on Peacock or whatever, it's Logan, and maybe Logan Paul's big enough to make it Logan Paul and Jey Uso. The unfortunate thing is Jey Uso is certainly big enough in the WWE world, the wrestling world, to be the headliner for this main event. But is he big enough in the, you know, general, you know, world that
in the grand scheme of it all?
The audience that I assume WWE is trying to bring in with these Saturday night main events. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Is he?
I think he is. I personally think that Jey Uso and Logan Paul should main event. Like I said, but again, as I've been adamant about on this podcast, is I think that you should market this around Jey Uso. I just think that the marketing opportunity is right there in the palm of your hands, and I think WWE would be a little silly not to do it. You've got a whole event that is obviously not named after Jey Uso. It was Saturday Night Main Event's been around forever, but the names are synonymous. They're right there. To me, it just screams money. If I already had an existing PLE or larger show as like this structure, and I had my main event guy, my biggest babyface arguably in the whole company, that had that moniker as his nickname, I just can't see you not at, or like at least building it around him. It just makes so much sense to me. But I personally have them main eventing, so I think they would be fine to carry. I think that John Cena and R-Truth should actually open.
Ooh, now that's interesting. Now look, I'll admit, I just found out today that it was a non-title match, so like that changed a lot of my perspective on it. It doesn't really change how I think the match is going to go, but it does change. Like if this was a title match, then you have to put Cena title match, I think, as the headliner, you know? And I think it's more Logan Paul that I think justifies this being a main event for Jey Uso than it is Jey Uso. Like I said, just because of the general audience. I think the general audience knows who Logan Paul is. Only that, the general audience probably largely hates or loves Logan Paul as much as the WWE audience does. So like everybody can get behind it, you know? So I feel like that is going to be a universal thing. There's going to be a whole bunch of people probably, you know, maybe not, who don't know what the yeet is as we start the match, you know, watch it for the first time. Like, what is this? But who knows, you know? Hopefully they get into the joy of it and really enjoy it and come on board and start watching. So, yeah. So, okay. So you got Cena opening.
Yeah, I think so. But let's jump into that. Let's jump into it. Let's talk about that match, actually, because we can talk about order all day long, but we'll get into it. So John Cena, non-title match, going up against R-Truth. Of course, this happens off the tail end of Backlash, where John Cena defeated Randy Orton to retain the title, but R-Truth came out, tried to help make the save to save Cena from Randy and the punt kick. Excuse me. And then in the press conference, you know, R-Truth says, "Hey man, I know all these people say you can't wrestle, but whatever." And so Cena eventually tells him to shut it. R-Truth doesn't, of course, and he catches an AA through the table there at the presser. I thought it was a really cool scene to see Cena do that, especially since when Truth first initially came out, Cena wasn't in that serious demeanor. Cena was all smiles, and he was laughing at Truth.
It was fun because Cena came out there. He's like, I realize I need to be more open with the press. Because the last one, he's like, that was a bad question, or whatever. That was a bad question. I feel like you're just trying to start drama or something like that. And he answered the same thing to every question after his last press conference. So this time, we were all ready to get, I don't know, something. Especially, remember how he walked out, you know? He walked out looking, you know, like a man with second thoughts. So when he came out slightly jovial, I was hoping maybe we were going to get a little bit of a peek of something. And then
I think that's what I kind of meant is like you addressed. We saw him after the match, teary-eyed, maybe questioning if this was the right move, whatever. And, you know, I think that along with the fact that he wasn't initially like off-putting to Truth and he wasn't like, get away from me immediately. I think that is like that little twinkle of like, I think Cena is like very aware of what's going on around him and aware of how this is not only affecting himself, but all the people around him. And for him, it's been this abusive relationship with the fans. And then you see someone like R-Truth, who sure, storyline wise is a coworker of yours or whatever, but R-Truth is also a fan. R-Truth represents us. He is the physical embodiment of the fandom of John Cena and of the WWE universe. And you saw that little that little twinkle of like Cena looking down and he's like, man, I really appreciate the fact that R-Truth appreciates me so much that he was able to do that. And then it was the comment that Truth made that flipped the switch back. So I think we are seeing those subtle moments of like, you know, it's Darth Vader to Anakin, right? Once you're Vader, it's too late. You're already Vader. But you know how it ended. By the time Vader was gone, he had eventually, you know, the physical embodiment of Vader was still there, but Anakin had come back by the end. And I think that that's kind of what we're seeing with Cena now. Is Cena is Vader, but when you've got Luke and you've got Han and you've got Leia coming at you from every direction, and you're hearing the people that still love you regardless of the bad things you're doing, then eventually he's going to start, you know, making his way back there. And we'll have to see who is the actual like catalyst that flips the script for Cena, because like I said in the last pod, Truth is just going to be the spark that ignites the flame.
Yeah, you don't think it goes that? Yeah, you just think it's the beginning.
I think we see some real questionable, like, I think we see some real, man, what's the word I'm looking for? Like battle of attrition in Cena's mind, you know? Like he's just really struggling and he's putting the beat down on Truth, but at some points he's, you know, he's second guessing. He goes to hit a move and he's like, oh, you know, maybe I should just pin him. And then maybe Truth eventually makes a big comeback and then Cena shuts it down and he's like, no, I got to do what I got to do. And then puts Truth out of there. But regardless of how this is going to go, this is a match that fans, ever since Cena made the heel turn, have been clamoring for. And I'm just really glad that WWE gave it to us. It's a nice little shout out and a nice little callback to their rivalry that they had during 2010 and their match that they had at Capital Punishment back in 2010 when Truth was on his historic heel run. If you haven't seen clips of R-Truth as a heel back in the day, man, dude, he was so good as a heel that R-Truth and The Miz, they created a tag team called the Awesome Truth, right? And they were so over as heels and so good at their jobs that whenever WWE was pushing the John Cena versus The Rock match that was going to be at the next WrestleMania, they ended up getting a tag team match together. It was John Cena and The Rock, and they faced off against The Miz and R-Truth at Survivor Series that year. So R-Truth's heel run was probably the best run he's ever had in his career. Don't get me wrong. He is a super over fan favorite with the crowd, super comedic, and is a legend in the business. But that heel run really cemented and showed us that he could do something different. He got fined. He got the WWE fined for during a live segment on Raw, pulled a cigarette out, lit the cigarette, and was smoking the cigarette live on TV in the arena. And so he got the WWE fined like quite a few $1,000s, but and that was all on the fly. He just decided to do that. And so I think that it's just nice to see the roles reversed. Now we get super uber babyface R-Truth, who is just a super fan that wanted to help his, you know, childhood hero. And now on the other side, you get the super uber mega heel in John Cena. And I really love what Truth said in the interview with Wade Barrett, where he said, look, if I got to beat down John Cena to remind him of who he is, I'll do it. I don't want to, but I'll do it. And so I just, you know, I really hope it's a fun match. I think it will be a fun match. And I do want to ask your opinion. I saw someone saying that they want R-Truth to get like some custom made John Cena inspired merch to sell in the WWE shop, but also to come out to Cena's music and have all the lights and the fanfare that Cena refuses to do now to kind of help. You know, maybe Cena comes out first, right? Because it's not a title match, it doesn't really matter. So maybe Cena comes out to the black screen with just his name, and then we expect to hear, you know, the guitar riff that opens up R-Truth song, and instead we get John Cena's music playing again, and it's just like a whole video package of R-Truth with like John Cena merch on and him doing the John Cena moves and stuff. So I guess I really just want to ask, where do you see the dynamic of this match going, and how do you see it playing out?
I mean, I'm so torn because, like I said, you know, if it's a title match, John wins regardless. Like, you know, I originally I was seeing it, and I still kind of do, the kind of similar to how you see it, in that Cena and R-Truth are going to go at it, and he's just going to keep like R-Truth's going to, like I said, it's kind of like I said, the Gunther Pat McAfee match. You know, it's going to be like, but John Cena is going to be the Michael Cole, like going just end the match, you know, like, you know, quit. And I think like R-Truth's not going to quit, sort of thing, and force John to really quote unquote hurt him, you know. And I think that, like you said, I think it might make the entire about face to the face. I mean, I don't know how fast maybe it happens, but it's, yeah, no, we're both certainly, it's a spark. I think it might be an explosion You know, I think the realization, but then I started thinking some other things because now it's a non-title match. So I'm like, all right, couple things. First off, we're doing this prior to SmackDown. So we don't know what's going to happen on SmackDown. And last week on SmackDown, Cody Rhodes is supposed to come back. And we still ain't seen no Cody Rhodes. I don't know what they're doing with Cody Rhodes. Non-title match, I don't know what they're doing with Cody Rhodes. So
this just in, folks. Matt does not know what they're doing.
I don't know what they're doing with Cody Rhodes. So if
do you think he could show up at Saturday night's main event? Not in this match, but do you think he could just show up like backstage? I
think he could show up in this match.
Okay.
I think he could show up to help our truth, you know, or something.
Do you think that,
or maybe he shows up afterwards and he's just staring at Cena, you know, from a distance. But I feel like, I don't know. I mean, because I don't know what they're doing with Cody Rhodes. You know, because they don't, you know, like I said, because we heard Cody didn't kind of like the storyline they wanted to push or whatever or something, or that's what delayed him from coming back last week. So, and there's no guarantee we're going to see him Friday night. And if we don't see him Friday night, we probably don't see, but maybe we do. Maybe that makes it more likely we see him Saturday. But what would make Saturday night main event even better, especially because I'm saying, how are you going to fill this time with 4 matches? And I'll admit, Cena and Orton went 27 minutes or something at back, way longer than I thought they were going to go. So obviously, R-Truth and Cena can do a similar kind of match where they could easily go 20 minutes. So maybe that's the case. Maybe it does fill. But I'm just trying to think, like, there's got to be a lot of behind the scenes drama that fills in some time here. And I feel like one of the things, like I said, like I want Gunther to be there, you know, for the Logan Paul Jey Uso match. I would love for Cena to show up in some way, shape, or form during the end of this match or right at the end of this match or something. I'd love for Cody Rhodes, to show up at the end of this match in some way, shape, or form. But I really don't know who I've got winning. Like I said, it felt like a Cena for sure thing. But now that it's a non-title match,
well, yeah, I was about to say, you got to pick. Are you using your fantasy booking guns to call R-Truth? Because look, let me help you out a little bit here. I don't think that the Truth call is a bad call at all, especially non-title. Like, and especially if Cody does come back, and that could be a huge point of contention for Cena going forward. Is, you know, on this heel run so far, he's undefeated, right? Ever since he turned heel, he is undefeated. And what if Cody comes back and costs him a match against R-Truth of all people? You know, so I could see it. Look, I'm personally picking Cena. That's my pick. But I wouldn't hate if you went against the grain and
now,
called
you know
R-Truth
what,
here.
you know what, I think I've won a couple of these PLE head to heads with you lately. So I'll go left field on a couple of these because I feel like there's only one match I know for sure the ending of. That's what happened to this PLE in me as I started to think about it more and more. So yeah, give me R-Truth to upset Cena. Give it to me.
All right, cool. And hey, keep in mind, when it comes to the filling of the time, they have already said that this is strictly to 2 hours.
Right. But still.
But I mean, you know, with backstage segments, and there's going to be like Hall of Famers there. There are going to be moments, and
I guess
we're going to get a lot of video packages.
I guess there's probably going to be commercial breaks as well, or whatever.
That too. Well, not for us on Peacock Premium. We'll get some cooler stuff than the commercials, but
gotcha. But it's okay.
But yeah, so just a 2-hour time limit. So timing probably won't be a huge issue, but because, I mean, if you have each of these matches go 20 minutes, then you've only got 40 minutes of spare time to throw in there. So one of these matches might only go 10 to 15, you know? But yeah, so cool. We're opposite on that. I got Cena, you got Truth. We'll wait and see what happens. What I have up next, I have the steel cage match between Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. Now, look, I took the lead on Cena Truth, so I'll let you take the lead on this. I kind of want to hear your opinions because I know where I'm going, but we have not talked about any of this prior to the pod. So let
me ask you a question. Is this considered the quote unquote rubber match for them?
This is it.
No, or is this the final match? Is this the end of the trilogy is what I'm saying?
This is the final match. Yeah, this is it.
Because I've looked and I've seen things both ways. Like people are like, nah, it was just WrestleMania. Backlash doesn't count. And so this is only the second match, you know? And I see people say WrestleMania, Backlash, and then this. So I don't know what the interpretation is there, because technically, if it is Backlash, we don't know who won.
Yeah, but they did also have a world title match last year against each other that Damian Priest won. So the Damian Priest won, Drew McIntyre won, and then they had Elimination Chamber, they had the Rumble. So there's plenty of history, and I think that the overall consensus is that this thing needs to end and both guys.
Right. Because I don't know how you escalate it anymore. You know,
I don't think you can. I don't think you can.
I mean, look, this has been slow roll. One of my favorite rivalries that's popped up. I did not like in the beginning. I think you know that I was not a fan of this rivalry in the beginning. I wasn't really a fan of Damian Priest that much in the beginning. Damian Priest has grown on me as this has gone along. With that in mind, this is going to be. Look, we've already heard how much these guys have hurt themselves in the course of this. You know, whether or not Drew really got glass in his eye from that car. You know, but we know for sure at Backlash that he probably got concussed and that Damian Priest almost lost a tooth. You know, so we know these guys, and they go at it and they go hard. This is going to be, I mean, this is low key. Like I said, for the fan who's just tuning in and doesn't watch WWE much, this is going to be low key, probably their favorite match of the night, because this should be just brutal, just absolutely brutal. Because neither of these guys, this is going to be like the Seth and Punk cage match, where neither guy is trying to get out of the cage. They're not trying to get out. They're not trying to. Somebody's leaving, you know, quote unquote, with their career over, you know, sort of situation. So, look, I'm taking Drew, but man, it could go either way, especially if you look at this as the rubber match and not the end of the trilogy. If this is the rubber match, Damian Priest wins. But Casey, I'm with you. I feel like there's been too much, that there's no way that this is considered the rubber match. This has to be the end of it. And I just, if you don't back Drew now, in a sense, I don't think you ever back Drew, you know? So this is it for me. You know, like, I love Drew McIntyre. I think he's going to just, it's like I said, it's going to be a brutal match, man. These guys are just going to beat the ever-loving tar out of each other. And I can't wait to see it. Really curious to see how much the cage is used and whatnot in the course of the match. Like, are there, because we've seen that these guys aren't afraid to go off, you know, super high levels. So are we going to see like some drops from the top of the cage and whatnot? That's more what I want to know. You know, I mean, it's going to be nuts, man. But yeah, give me Drew in a battle that, you know, and like no interference. I don't think there's any interferences, because neither of these guys really have anybody, you know, like who's in either of these guys' corners? You know, maybe Damian has Rhea, you know, to an extent, you know.
Yeah, but even with them being on different shows now, I think that was their way of like.
Right, I'm just saying.
And yeah, so I agree with you. They don't have anybody, and I don't think there would be any interference. I think it's pretty straightforward. I kind of hope we don't see, like you said, I hope we don't see anybody try to climb out or anything like that. I hope it's just they just want to kick each other's ass. You know, I just hope it's a beat down. And an actual resolution to this feud. And I agree with you. I'm also going Drew. I think that Drew is long overdue for a huge program going forward. And maybe with Roman coming back in the next month or two, maybe we finally get a Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns one-on-one feud where Roman has nobody behind him and Drew has nobody behind him. And now we're just talking about two of the biggest stars in the company being able to go head to head, something that we've been working towards for years now between Drew and Roman. You know, before this.
And what if they go head to head, and at the end there's like that mutual respect sort of thing, and then they go after the Seth Alliance together?
I'd have to really see where the Seth Alliance goes.
Right,
you know?
right.
But I wouldn't hate that. I actually, it's funny that you mentioned them, you know, enemies teaming up. I was kind of thinking that maybe down the line, out of all the respect that they may have gained for each other through this rivalry, I wouldn't be shocked if later down the line, maybe we get like a little Drew and Damian like powerhouse tag team run somewhere down the line. They're both like darker, menacing characters, you know, both kind of the grueling beatdown style wrestlers. And I'm not saying it should happen or that it'll happen tomorrow or anything, but 6 months down the line, when all of a sudden they have mutual enemies, you know, it's not too far-fetched for me. We've seen crazier stuff, but in terms of the rivalry ending, yeah, I think this is it. I think that we've been, at this point, really stacking on to this feud long-term for close to a year now. So I think we're reaching our resolution here, and I think it's going to be Drew. And the good thing about that is that I don't think that makes Damian look weak at all. I think this feud has been so good that win or lose, Damian's going to come out of this really strong. But I think that if Drew were to lose, it wouldn't necessarily be the same for him.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It feels like you're backing away from Drew if Drew loses, whereas Damian, it feels like you kind of knew this was what he was doing the entire time. And he's done a great job at it. So
yeah, exactly. And I think they're both ready to move on to new things. I wouldn't be mad if
I like that idea though. They're both like in a hospital room in beds next to each other after this match, and they start bonding after that. Look,
yeah, right. Yep,
like,
exactly.
Look at this scar. Look at this scar. Yeah.
And then they start talking about all the things that's happened to each of them the last year, and they're like, "Man, this guy's really not that bad." You know, they just like to fight.
That would be
it really boils down to.
That would be an interesting spin. I'm not against that.
So, but who knows? Way down the line. All right, next matchup, because I do have the title match as the main event. We have the highly anticipated tag team match between CM Punk and Sami Zayn going up against Bron Breakker, Seth Rollins with Paul Heyman in their corner. Now, look, I'll take the lead on this one, I guess. I think it's pretty straightforward that it should be Bron and Seth. But I think that the thing that we're all talking about is there going to be anything that furthers the plot and the storyline of Seth's new group? Are we going to get another member? Is Sami going to turn? Are we going to see anything like that? And I don't know. Part of me in my soul, I feel like something's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be anything as big as a new member. And even if Sami does, back away from CM Punk or doesn't necessarily help when he should, I don't think that necessarily means that Sami's joining the Seth group. I think that Sami might be going through like a lone wolf style character change very soon, where he feels as though nobody really has his back anymore. He's like that paranoid type of guy that I got to get you before you get me, and I can't trust anybody. And then that's going to maybe cause some tension between he and Jey Uso down the line, which we then could see something like that. But I don't know that it's necessarily a turn we see from Sami against Punk or to help out Seth, and maybe it is a turn, but then maybe on Monday Night Raw, he explains his actions as like Seth and Bron come out and they like try to thank him. And Sami's like, I didn't do this for you. Like I did this for me because I need to prove that, because we've seen a few comments here and there about people saying Sami still hasn't won a world title. Right. And maybe Sami is starting to understand in his brain that the way that Sami Zayn is now is not going to be a world champion. And so he's got to make a change. And if that change is backing away from CM Punk and proving to the world that he doesn't need CM Punk and he doesn't need Seth Rollins or Bron Breakker, and he can go out on his own and do his own thing, and eventually he won't need Jey Uso anymore, I kind of like that more instead of Sami joining the group here. So I hope that's not where we're going. I'm picking Seth and Bron to win. I don't know that we're getting a new group tonight, but I think we're definitely going to see some drama.
No, this is if it wasn't going to be such a great match, this is the one match that shouldn't be on this PLE because it's so story driven. You know what I mean? Like, otherwise I would have this match open, like a normal PLE, I'd have this match open. Like, I like you putting Cena in the front, because if you're going to get the average fan, get Cena in the front, get up, like I said, Jey in the back with the title match, have the cage match. And then this, unfortunately, for the average fan, if they're not at all and they don't know the name, well, I think everybody probably knows the name CM Punk, and maybe they know Seth Rollins. But I think the average person has heard of CM Punk. It's just a name that I think has made it into, even if they don't know what he looks like, you know what I mean? They've heard the name CM Punk. Anyways, no, this is all storyline right here. This is all storyline match. Yeah, obviously, this is the only one that I can pick for sure as Seth and Bron. There's no way they lose this match. If they do, then they're doing something with this story that I don't know. And then that's cool. I mean, I'm all for it. Like, surprise me, But the way it's probably going to go is, like you said, it's about Sami to a large degree, but I think we also have to get CM Punk off the map for a little bit. I think we got to take him away. And just because you can't have this continued Seth CM rivalry while you try to build this thing, I don't think, because that just, it clouds it. Because, especially with how big Punk is with the fans, like you can't have that, I mean, otherwise it's all we want is Seth and Punk, Just give us Seth and Punk. Oh, give us Seth and Punk again then, I mean, so I feel like this match, we're going to see, in a sense, Sami back out, back down, as Punk is getting the beating of his life from Rollins and Breaker, maybe, and it's not that Sami turns on, he just more freezes, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's something that we got to work through too. He's like, I mean, I'd be scared of Braun Breaker, and he came out, he from that spear, and that beat down that Breaker gave him, he was all, bandaged up 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. So maybe he just, and again, he hesitated to get in the ring when it was the two of them, Seth and Braun by himself, hesitated to get in the ring to help out Jey. So maybe we see the same sort of hesitation at some point. And like I said, this gets Punk off the board for a month or two to let the title matches with Cena go one way, let the title matches with Jey go another way, let the Seth Alliance bloom, and then you can have Punk come back and maybe, him and Reigns coming back at the same time, maybe, or something, who knows, and you have whatever, because eventually they're all going to be chasing Seth. Eventually Seth's going to take Jey's title probably. And if I'm going to fantasy book super ahead, Braun's going to get a Money in the Bank qualifier. Braun's going to win Money in the Bank. Braun beats Cena, and now Seth and Braun both have world titles. So
wow, that'd be crazy.
There's a fantasy booking for you right there. But yeah, so no, look, like I said, this is all about drama. This is all about the storyline. It's the best storyline going on in the WWE right now. I hope they can sell it in some way to the average fan. I hope they put a good promo in front of this one and not a commercial, because this is the one that you need a little background for. You know what I mean? The rest of these, you don't need a bunch of Cena R-Truth. You're there to watch Cena. Steel cage match, you don't even got to know who the two guys are. Just give me a steel cage match. Like I said, everybody knows of Logan Paul. Just like I said, they probably all know of CM Punk. So like I said, a title match with Logan Paul in it, give it to me. But this is the one that might need a little background. So I hope they give it. So I hope that they get new fans invested in this storyline, because it's fantastic.
Yeah, and I wanted to speak on your comment about Punk and Seth. I think that's where we're headed for SummerSlam. I think that we're getting Seth Punk. Would this be their second time, like their second one-on-one? Because I think they just had the steel cage, right, earlier in the year.
I know a lot of them have been like three-way or in Elimination Chamber and stuff.
Yeah, so I could see that we're working towards a huge Seth versus Punk match at SummerSlam. And I think that maybe we even get like a precursor to that by saying Punk versus Braun Breaker on a PLE at some point. I think that could be a match. And I mean, how huge would that be for Braun Breaker, win or lose? You get to go up against CM Punk on a PLE. So I think that would be huge. But yeah, I hope that they do this match justice. I hope it's not just like a Saturday night main event filler tag team match and then the baby faces stand tall, because more importantly than anything, I think that Seth and Braun need this win to establish the dangerous, nature of their new stable that they have going forward, if they haven't done that already. But I think that catching a loss this early on in the tenure of the group would be pretty detrimental to them.
And I really want them to get it clean.
Yeah.
I don't want a third member to pop up. I don't want Paul Heyman to grab, I don't mind if Paul Heyman and Punk talk or something, and that distracts Punk. That still is clean to me, but I don't want Paul Heyman getting in there. I don't want Paul Heyman slipping Braun a chair, I want
ready, because he probably is.
I know. I want this to be a clean win that, like I said, happens because like Sami hesitates or something. I want it to be Sami and Punk's fault that they lose. I don't want it to be, you said, some usual kind of heel sort of intervention win. I want them to win clean.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I think I don't know that there's going to be shenanigans, but
don't get me wrong. I found the chair after the bell goes, and then they just beat the hell out of Punk with a chair. Right, that's fine,
Oh yeah, you'd be happy to see Punk get beat up with a chair, but I don't know that it'll be I don't know that it'll necessarily be a clean win, but I do think that Bron and Seth win per the responsibility or per Sami doing something that cost his team the match. Whether it's intentional or not, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. All right, main event. World Heavyweight Champion Jey Uso is defending against Logan Paul. I took the last one, so I'll let you have this one, but I think that we're pretty sure where we're both going, but I'll let you take it.
No, I flipped. Like I said, this is the more I think about it, look, it's not going to be Jey and Seth, I don't think, for the title. So I feel like you got to get the title to Seth somehow. So this is just because of fantasy booking, right? I mean, I feel like that moves a couple times. I feel like, we're going to get Seth Gunther, I feel like we're really going to get Seth Gunther. I feel like we're going to get, unless they're going to have, because I can't see Jey losing to Gunther. That's my problem. And I don't see Seth and Jey. I don't know. So it feels like a Logan Paul sort of thing. Like I said, this is the nationally televised one. This is the one for the average fan. Come watch Logan Paul win. Even if he only holds it for, a week, come watch him win. I don't know. Look, this is going to be a fun match, though. We've seen, like I said, both these guys can work a mic. We know how much the crowd loves Jey. We know how much the crowd hates Logan Paul. The crowd is going to be super, super pumped for this match. I can't wait to hear the crowd for this match. And like I said, Jey's matches lately have been top notch, and Logan is one of the better talents in WWE that, doesn't probably get as much respect as he should. This is going to be a fun, high-flying match. I just don't know there's outside shenanigans. That's my only thing.
I need to hear you say it out loud. I need to hear you say who
I'm taking Logan Paul to win on Saturday Night Main Event.
That's crazy.
I know. I told you I was going to go a little left field on this one. I told you I can't. The only match I'm certain of is the tag team match. The rest of these I really feel like could technically go either way for storyline and everything. Like I said, you could have, obviously Jey could win this, and we know where the storyline goes for the most part there. Like I said, R-Truth and Cena, like I said, that could go either way. And still the storyline would probably go the same direction whether he wins or Cena wins or loses, The only one that you said that maybe changes it is if Damian Priest beats Drew, then we're getting one more Damian Priest Drew McIntyre match. I just don't know what it is. Like Hell in a Cell with ladders and chairs and barbed wire and everything else. Mankind comes back and he's the referee. I have no idea, So I feel like all these matches except for the tag could go 50-50. And so yeah, I'm going left field. Logan's been working hard. He's committed himself to being there weekly now, supposedly. Hey, look, and if you want to make things interesting, you want to shake things up, because he's not going to have it for long. Like I said, he's probably going to lose it to Gunther immediately. I don't know. Tell me you're taking Jey, and then tell me the progression of how we get the title onto Seth. Because do you agree that this Seth is eventually going to have this title?
Yeah, I do agree that, first of all, I'm taking Jey Uso. Second of all, yes, I do think that we eventually get the title on Seth Rollins, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's not till next year.
Wow.
I mean, if you really spend the year building this new faction that he's created, then you can really, I wouldn't be surprised if Bron Breakker, I don't think it's going to be a world championship. I wouldn't be surprised if Bron Breakker is a champion by the end of this year before Seth Rollins is.
See, look, I would totally agree with you, except that they did that preemptive start 2 weeks ago or whatever it was when Paul got Seth the title match against Jey that night. It's like, now what am I going to do? Am I going to wait a whole year before he actually gets the title? I
don't think that it has to be off of Jey, though.
Right.
And I think that's maybe why WWE is pulling him in so many directions. It's for the unpredictability of who he could lose it to. Because funny enough, between Logan, Gunther, and Seth, I don't think that Jey is losing the title to any three of those men.
Wow. All right.
I don't think that any.
So you got him holding it on for a hot minute then.
Well, I mean, you got to think about it. He hasn't even had it for 2 months yet. He's only had the title for it's May 22nd. He's had the title for a little over a month. So
I wonder.
I
I wonder what the. I'm gonna look that up. What's the average title? You know,
I don't know, man.
I mean, I know some dudes like Roman held it for like 500 days or whatever.
Yeah, but you got some guys like Rey Mysterio held it for 2 hours.
That's what I'm saying. So.
But you're talking about going through 60, 70 years of lineage to find an average. So you're gonna be there for a minute.
Yeah,
maybe that's something we bring up for the next pod.
Yeah, they're probably not an easy thing to find, but yeah.
No, I'm taking Jey Uso, and I don't know that Seth or Gunther or Logan Paul is the natural progression of where this championship goes. Look, I've been shouting forever that I want it to be Karrion Kross to take the title off of him. I don't know that that's actually going to happen, but even if it's not Karrion Kross, Seth doesn't need the title. Sure, he wants it, but he doesn't need the title. I think that when it comes to Gunther, that he has had the title so long that I think that most of the audiences, at least diehard audiences like us, are anxious to see what Gunther's run would be like without a championship, because we've seen Gunther hold a championship for 80% of his WWE tenure. And I think that maybe we're on the road to seeing Gunther execute his run without championships, at least for a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if Gunther maybe wins the Rumble next year and then can go after it at WrestleMania again against whoever that may be. But I just don't feel like, I feel like Seth's natural progression this year is to build this faction, because I feel like this faction is just going to be pivotal to WWE history. And I think that Bron Breakker winning a world championship by the end of this year, especially off of John Cena, catapults him over Seth Rollins in terms of being the leader of that group, or in terms of being the most important member of that group. And I just don't see that being the direction that WWE is headed. Now, if you want me to put my fantasy booking cap on, I could see, prior to the AJ Styles and Logan Paul match at WrestleMania, who was the one that was always in AJ Styles' ear about, we can't let Logan Paul win. We can't let Logan Paul win because this would be a detriment to pro wrestling. That was Karrion Kross.
Yeah.
And so what if somehow Kross gets, whether it's prior to the match, like putting something in Jay's ear to unlock a new level of brutality that we may see from Jay, or if Karrion Kross gets involved somehow. I don't know how it would be, but I could see a way that Karrion Kross is now responsible for Logan Paul not winning that championship, because he wants to save pro wrestling. And now you can properly transition Karrion Kross to be, because he's over, right? People love him. They don't want Karrion Kross to be a heel. And what better way to help a guy get even more cheers, as we see with Jey Uso, than having him go up against Logan Paul? His ultimate goal could be to save pro wrestling. And then on top of that, I just don't see Logan as a world champion yet. Give me a year or two of him consistently being here, and even as someone who doesn't love Logan Paul outside of the business, I would be open to the idea of him winning it. I wouldn't hate it. But you're a full-timer, and even since you've been a full-timer, you've only been here half of the shows that you're scheduled to be, or like that you could have been on. Like, show me you're a CM Punk. Show me you're a Jey Uso. Show me you're a Seth Rollins, because as of now, you're a part-timer who's telling me that he's otherwise. And so until you show me that, I just can't see him taking the title. Jey Uso, I think he's holding this till at least SummerSlam. So I think that we've got a few more months of this reign, because again, you and I talked about it. His matches have been good. His promos have been good. He has been like a whole new person ever since they put this belt on him. And I just really think that WWE is going to continue capitalizing on it. And I don't know. I just think his run is too good right now. Like, he's had, shout out to, we were talking a little bit about him before the show, but shout out to Santi Zap, because he brought up a good point. And at first I thought about it and I was like, I don't know about that. But then I really thought about it and I was like, well, actually, but Jey Uso's run has already gotten me more captivated than Gunther's entire run with the title did. And it's been a little over a month. And that's no shade towards Gunther. They are totally different characters. They are booked totally different ways. They are not the same people. It's A and B are not the same. So when I look at Jey Uso and I look at the fact of, the internet hated that this dude won the Royal Rumble. Like, if you go back and find the YouTube video, it had more thumbs down than thumbs up. Same thing about him winning at WrestleMania. When he won the title, it was more thumbs down than thumbs up. And now he got the championship and he said, watch what I can do. And he has proven everybody wrong, at least in my opinion. So I think that he deserves a little more time with the title. And I mean, a 3 to 4 month reign, I think that's pretty solid. We used to see a lot of that in the 2000s and in the 2010s when they would have 2 world titles. Sometimes the secondary, quote unquote, which would be the World Heavyweight Championship right now, would be bounced around every few months. to help build up new guys and help more people become main eventers. And I just think that Jay's going to hold on to it for a while, and I just can't see Logan being the guy that takes it right now.
I know you're probably right. Like I said, I'm going a little left field, but I do also stand by my other idea, which is that I would like to see that if Jey Uso is going to win this, that he beats the ever loving hell out of Logan Paul, and we see like a slight beginning of a heel turn for Jey. Like we said, if he's playing up with this, how the heavy is the head that wears the crown, sort of thing, then I want to see him start to crack tonight. I want this to be like the first crack, where he takes it maybe a little too far. Because as you said, if Karrion Kross could be a guy and he's coming up as a face, then maybe he's a face at the time that Jey finally goes full heel, or full anti-face or whatever, or.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like honestly, I'm going to say it ahead of time now, because when it does happen, I can come back to this and claim that I knew the whole time. But I really feel like we're headed towards a collision course of Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso reuniting to be a tag team again. They got their transgressions out against each other after their WrestleMania match one-on-one.
Right.
And it seems as though they have made amends completely, and Jimmy Uso's doing nothing right now. So you're talking about maybe next year them having another title run with the tag titles. I mean, what better way to bolster that Raw tag division than adding who I think in the Usos are neck and neck with the New Day in terms of being the greatest tag team ever to exist.
Right.
And so
they're not quite the Bushwhackers, but yeah.
You're right. My bad. I forgot. Very close third to the Bushwhackers. So I could see us heading towards the collision course of a reuniting of the Uso twins. And I mean, I just like I said, I just can't see Uso dropping it yet.
Like I said, you're probably right. If I'm WWE and I've got it on NBC instead of just Peacock, and I'm playing to a general audience that knows who Logan Paul is, I'm doing one of two things. I'm beating the holy hell out of Logan Paul and making all those people happy, or I'm giving Logan Paul the title and making all of his fans happy. One of the two.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think just having Logan here is enough to get the eyes. And, just like you said, as many people as there are that want to see Logan, 90% of those people probably want to see him lose.
You're probably right.
But, and also, I do want to say, I would love if Jey does win, I would love if he wins with the sleeper hold again. Like if Logan never taps and he doesn't get pinned, so you can still keep Logan strong, but in terms of Jey Uso looking forward to Gunther, and if you're right, and Gunther is even just ringside, he doesn't necessarily have to be on commentary.
God,
but if he's
Gunther
just
there.
On ringside, then imagine Logan goes for that knockout punch, right? Jey Uso slips it and then slips in that sleeper, and right before he locks it in as he can, he stares Gunther down and just drops with it. And Logan just passes out to the sleeper. And now Jey Uso is saying like, hey, look, remember I made you tap out, and remember I can do it again if I wanted to. And then we have even more build up towards the towards the title match after Money in the Bank.
I want Gunther there so bad. I want Gunther doing commentary so bad. Oh, that'd be so great. All right, final question. I mean, not final question, but question for you here. All right, looking ahead, we only got one guy or one male competitor so far in Money in the Bank, and it's Solo. Who else do you see in the Money in the Bank? Do you got any way too early predictions on who else you see?
Man, it's tough because we don't know if there's going to be a second chance yet. So we don't know if they're going to do like a second chance qualifier where they throw all the people who didn't win a match in at the end to get that last spot. But like Knight could still be in it, right? Because I think that personally, LA Knight is my guy to win it.
LA Knight gets a shot tomorrow night on SmackDown. Like I said, he's got the Aleister Black and Shinsuke.
But yeah, I'm thinking he's in the.
He was in the Solo. Solo was him, Jimmy, and was it Ray? Yeah,
Ray Phoenix. Yeah. I was mixing the two matches up. I still think. So LA Knight, I think, is definitely going to be in it. And depending on the rest of the field, he's probably my pick to win it. I think he's the guy off the top of my head that's probably the most main event ready, that if you wanted to throw him into a high profile program, then he makes the most sense, especially with Money in the Bank is going to be in LA. It's Inglewood, but it's going to be in LA. You got LA Knight winning the briefcase in LA. Like, I feel like that writes itself. But also, I just think that LA Knight, you don't know a lot about his story, but considering he's like a 20-year vet and really busted his ass to get to where he is, and then whenever they did call him up, he's done everything they've asked him to do, exponentially better than we probably could have ever thought he ever would. I think he deserves at least a shot, and I would like to see him have that Money in the Bank brief, because imagine the promos with LA Knight of him with the briefcase, just like teasing John Cena, or maybe he shows up to Monday Night Raw and he's talking to Jey Uso. There's so many different ways that I could see it going, but LA Knight would probably be my favorite. I'm struggling to just think of names off the top of my head.
Well, okay, like I said, I got Bron in there. So do you?
Yeah, Bron could be in there.
I mean, and then I was really bringing this up because I want to bring up Karrion Kross again. Do you think Karrion Kross is in Money in the Bank? And then would he not be maybe one of your I guess leaders of the clubhouse to win the whole thing?
If he's in it, yeah. If he's in it, I would love to see Karrion Kross win it. He would probably be 1A, 1B with LA Knight for me in terms of who I would want to see win it. I just it's hard to explain in words out loud, but I just feel like his character doesn't really need that. I feel like his character doesn't need a Money in the Bank because he could be the guy that's manipulative behind the scenes until he eventually weasels his way. I say weasels until he eventually manipulates somebody so much that he gets his way into a title match. And then before you know it, we're like, holy crap, Karrion Kross is the world heavyweight champion all of a sudden. And he never needed that Money in the Bank. So I just maybe feel like there are other people that could use it to their advantage better than his character could.
Okay.
But if he's in it, I would love to see him win it. Yeah. But so do you have Braun Breaker winning the men's and you have Alexa Bliss winning the women's?
I'm still torn. I mean, I don't know if Rhea needs it or not. I like your idea with Rhea being all, professional if she won it. But also, I'm going to wait and see. Right now, I probably still have Alexa winning it, but I'm going to wait and see what's up with the Charlotte Flair thing. Did you see the artwork that somebody posted of Charlotte as the Dark Queen? Or
no,
whatever?
I didn't.
And Alexa like right beside her as so maybe they're going a tag route like you kind of think, maybe they're going that direction. If they go that direction, then obviously Rhea will win the Money in the Bank because they're going to be a tag thing, and I kind of like that because I feel like that's what Charlotte needs. I don't know what Alexa needs, but I feel like that would help Charlotte out a lot with what she's trying to do.
Yeah, because we've never seen Charlotte in that scenario. We've never seen her as a tag team competitor. And like I said, if you're hitting the point where you're hitting a bit of stagnancy with your women's tag titles, then, I mean, what a way than to throw arguably the greatest of all time along with one of the other greatest of all time in Alexa Bliss and throw them together as a tag team. They could be the new I forget what they were called, but Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin formed a tag team. And they had they were tag champs before one of them got hurt, but I could see something along those lines. And I don't know. I think that maybe
Twisted Sisters,
something Twisted Queens. I don't really know, something along those lines, but I would love to see them as a tag team. And I think
Dark
it really helped
Royalty.
bring something. I think it would bring some more legitimacy to the tag titles. And if you're not going to do that, just send the tag titles back down to NXT. Like, just take them off of the main roster. Let the main roster be without them for a while. Figure out a system to develop them in NXT. Create some women's tag teams down in NXT until you can slowly bring them up and then maybe bring the tag titles back. Because whatever is working, like you tried to put it on Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, but I feel like the problem with that was everybody knew what the writing on the wall was. At least we thought we did until they brought Naomi in. And then that was very obvious what the writing on the wall was. But I feel like on the other side of that, there was nothing really new established because if you look at the past three champions that we've had in terms of the women's tag division, Bianca, Becky, Liv Morgan, three of obviously the greatest women's wrestlers to ever come through WWE, and people still don't want to see the tag titles. But then you have the tag titles put on Liv and Raquel, and Liv's out of the country filming another movie. So now we're not even seeing them on weekly television outside of backstage segments because Raquel's not even wrestling on TV. Unless Raquel gets like a Money in the Bank qualifier, we haven't even seen the championships out like in the ring since Liv has left. And so it's like, yeah, I want you to build the legitimacy of it, but keep doing it after you put them on someone, So that's really the reason I want to see them as a tag team. And I'm not sure where Charlotte or Alexa Bliss goes if they don't form that tag team. But yeah, you already said my thing about Rhea. I think Rhea's my pick to win it. So if you twisted my arm today, I'd probably say LA Knight and Rhea Ripley are my winners if I had to pick today.
All right. And speaking of Charlotte and Rhea and everything else, Charlotte has a match against Julia and Zelina Vega for a spot in Money in the Bank on SmackDown Friday. So we get the fourth woman in, like you said, a second dude in. You think Charlotte takes it from over Julia and Zelina Vega, or do we let one of those younger ladies shine? And because that, like I said, it makes it interesting if Alexa and Charlotte are both in the Money in the Bank match as well, and they've developed some sort of friendship or agreement,
Yeah, I think Charlotte does take this, and I kind of alluded to this on one of our previous pods, maybe our SmackDown review that we did last week, but I wouldn't be terribly shocked if there's somehow, like, if there's a situation where Alexa and Charlotte are both in the Money in the Bank at the same time, and maybe as a show of faith to Charlotte, Alexa, like, maybe they both go to climb the ladder and they both meet at the top of the ladder, and Alexa's like, "Go ahead,
right,
it's yours, take it," and it can be like look. You are in a funk after your loss to Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania. The crowd obviously hates you, and I'm here to help you find or remember who the queen is. I'm here to help you remember who the hell you are. And that could be an interesting way to go about it. And then you got Alexa following Charlotte around everywhere, and they're this dynamic duo that does whatever they want to do. And then eventually you can have Alexa Bliss turn on Charlotte whenever she's ready to take the title from her if Charlotte does become champion. But yeah, I think Zelina Vega is kind of this weird, like, she's the US champion, right?
Right.
But it's like she's so beloved by the internet wrestling community, but I feel like she's very similar to Michin in a lot of ways. We talked about Michin last week, but as much as people love Zelina Vega, she came out, the last time I saw her come out on SmackDown, it was crickets. I didn't really hear much of a reaction for her. And so I don't know. I think that Zelina Vega needs something nice and new and refreshing for her to, like, get her acclimated back with the crowd. And I wouldn't be surprised if on the back end of this triple threat, maybe we get a program between Julia and Zelina Vega for that US title. What a way to cement one of your new NXT call-ups, because you already see Roxanne on the other brand.
Then that answers my questions on some things. So I was like, look, you got these three ladies, and we both kind of have Charlotte taking it. Do you want Julia to take the pin? But she's the new girl. So you're going to have her take the pin? Or do you have Zelina Vega take the pin, but she's a champion right now? You're not going to have a champ. But you're right. If for some reason Zelina causes Julia to take the pin or vice versa, then you build up that rivalry, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, and we could also see something along the line. Maybe Alexa Bliss interferes in this match and helps Charlotte win. We could see something like that, because then, but via interference, you're keeping your US champion strong, you're keeping Julia strong, and maybe on the back end of that, you can have, let's say it is Zelina Vega, she takes out Julia, and it looks like she's about to win, but Alexa Bliss kind of makes an interference and costs her the match or something. And then on the other side of that, you could have Zelina Vega versus Alexa Bliss in the next few weeks. Just to kind of hurry up and very quickly sew that knot, and get that taken care of, to retcon it or whatever. But I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I know that we're not done with this Alexa Bliss and Charlotte stuff going forward. So I'm anxious to see what happens. If nothing else, they've got me curious, and that's all I can really ask sometimes.
Hey, going back to the men's match for SmackDown, Knight, Aleister Black, Shinsuke, who takes the pin in that one? Because who's been taking the pins lately? LA Knight.
Yeah, I think it's Shinsuke. I think Shin's going to take the pin here. And
you think he comes back just to take the pin? Really?
He came back just to lose the U.S. title. Yeah, I think he could come back just to lose.
All right, I'll tell you what. I hope so, and I hope, like I said, I hope it develops a Shinsuke Aleister Black rivalry. I really want to see that. I think you're exactly right, and I think it's just copying the blueprint of what we just said about the women's match. Right, exactly.
The winner goes on, and the two losers end up having a feud against each other.
And I could definitely see that. All for a Shinsuke Aleister Black rivalry. I feel like that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we'll probably get the blow off for it like the Friday before SmackDown, because they love to put matches on the Friday before that maybe should be on the PLE. But maybe there'll be a tag team title match again that night. But yeah, I think you're right. I think we do see Shinsuke and Aleister Black, and I am all for it, brother. I'm good on that. I want to see that, because that would be fun. So Aleister and Shinsuke are two of my favorites in the WWE. So I'd like to see them go, even though I think it's a foregone conclusion on who's going to win. Right. But I would love to see that. Yeah, I think you're right about that. All right, so official. Go ahead.
I'd like to see Shinsuke go on one last run. It's not going to happen. Start with Aleister Black probably, but I would like, because how much more Shinsuke do we got left? Probably, So he's been around
maybe another 5 years if we're lucky.
I mean, he's been around forever. So yeah.
Yeah, and I personally think, look, dude, I love Shinsuke, but he was never better than when he was in NXT. just send him back down to NXT for a little bit. You did it with Finn Balor, and you even let so Finn was in NXT, came up to the main roster, and after a few years went back down to NXT and won the championship there again. Like, do it with Shinsuke. Let him go and re-legitimize himself against this younger talent. And you don't even have to make him champion again. But if you wanted to, I'd be okay with that too. But let Shinsuke go down to NXT for a while and really get over organically with those crowds down there before you bring him back up. I would love to see that. But, who knows what they'll do with Shinsuke, because I never know what they're going to do with Shinsuke. All right, so official match card predictions for Saturday night's main event. Just to wrap it all up. John Cena, R-Truth. I'm going Cena. Matt's going Truth. For the steel cage match, Drew versus Priest, we're both going Drew. For the tag match, we're both going Bron and Seth. Mm-hmm. And then we're split on the world title match. I'm going Jey Uso, and Matt's going with the social media megastar, Logan Paul. So should be very interesting. A very bold pick, considering that they're bragging about Logan already knocking Jey out 4 times. So we'll have to wait and see. If Logan Paul is world champion come Saturday, I don't know. We got to figure something out, because the world might crumble.
I just hope storyline wise, then it goes, like I said, that direction. Like I said, I hope Jey starts turning a little heel, and I hope, like I said, I hope Cena. I hope it's more than a spark. I hope it's explosion. It had to be a full face turn.
Yeah. But
I hope it's not like a slow burn to a face turn. You know what I mean?
I unfortunately think that we're probably getting a slow burn and then nothing happening in the Jey Uso and Logan Paul match, and it's just going to be a good match.
That's what I'm with. That's probably the realistic thing. Jay's going to be total face still at the end of this, and we're probably still going to be about at the same point we were after Backlash with Cena. So
yeah, it's going to be, the way I see it going, it's going to be the same thing that we always do. Logan Paul loses his match, but he has a few good spots where he looks really good, and he gets a lot of views on social media. And then Jey Uso gets his win and gets to look clean. Because, look, they can try to fix it all they want, but they already told us that it's Jey Uso and Gunther on the Monday after Money in the Bank. And I just, like I said, I hope you're right about Gunther being there. I think we all want to see him ringside.
Triple H, WWE, if you don't have Gunther out there ringside doing commentary like you got the New Day, then you're missing it.
Yeah, because imagine if he comes down, imagine if it's just like, it's not even announced, right? He just shows up and he just walks out and he's like, "Hey, Pat, I'm here to show you how to do your job."
Exactly.
Yep. And so I'll be on commentary with you guys tonight, and it'd be an interesting little dynamic. So I wouldn't mind seeing, even if he doesn't end up on commentary, I would just like to see him ringside, even if he's just sitting in one of the chairs watching, just seeing what's going on. So I think that the overarching storyline is Jey Uso and Gunther, and it's just hard for me to see it, but we'll have to wait and see. So that'll be our predictions for Saturday night's main event. I talked a little bit about SmackDown, a little bit about Money in the Bank coming up. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Keep the views and the likes coming on all the social media platforms. You guys
keep the comments. Like, I love the comments, man. Bring the comments. We're gonna start reading some comments out next show or something. Like, get our favorite comments or whatever.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
I want to know, like you said, what do you think? How wrong are we? Anybody else taking Logan Paul with me? Anybody else taking R-Truth with me, or is everybody else going chalk? So hit us up.
I will admit, I think the R-Truth one, that's the one I'm most likely to be wrong on. I think that there's a really good shot that somehow, some way, be a shenanigans or whatever, that Truth could walk away with a win here. So it's not totally crazy. I don't think it's as crazy as the Logan Paul shout. But
like I said, I'm still torn on the Damian Priest Drew thing, depending on how you view this match. Is this the second match? Is this the third match? Is this like the 17th match? But if you're looking at just WrestleMania and then this is match 2, then Priest could win it and we could get a cell on fire. They have fire cell matches. I don't even know, something like that. Something crazy. They'd have to invent a new match type for Drew and Damian. Anyways,
we'll have to wait and see. All right. So for TK Wrestling, this has been Casey and Matt with our Saturday night main event predictions. And we'll see how right or wrong we were come Sunday when we do our reactions. So until then, this is TK Wrestling, and we are